The Olympic opening ceremonies, I don't normally watch these because they're always weird and lame, but I certainly didn't watch this one because I got word ahead of time that the costume designer was the host or judge of like the French version of RuPaul Drag Race or something. So I knew it was going to be some weird freak show. And sure enough, two main parts. Here's one portion where three gay guys peel away from the street and then go into their bedroom kissing each other and then kick you out of the room. And you're watching, like, what in the world? Like, whoa, who put that in there? And then, of course, there's the scene that everyone's talking about where they're mocking the Last Supper, a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. This is the Last Supper where Jesus said, one of you are going to betray me, and then one of you are going to deny me 3 times. This is where communion comes from. This is my body given to you. Now, there's some saying that this queer person who came up with this blasphemy was actually inspired by a 17th century painting called The Feast of the Gods, which also had Dionysus on it, that blue naked guy, right, the god of wine and fertility in this painting. That painting also had Apollo, and that painting also had a child at the table, there was also a kid, of course, a groomed child at this freak show in Paris as well. But anyway, this French, some people are saying that this queer set designer, director, or whatever, actually had that picture in mind, not the Last Supper, whatever. He knew exactly what he was doing. This type of stuff, it's a middle finger to Christians and all of us around the world. Just for the sake of comparison, what could have been, here's what Russia did in 2014. And 2014 versus what, they did like this, like a runway thing with like a trans queer dude or whatever. And you're like, listen, Russia did something that was beautiful. And France, this guy did something that was intentionally ugly, because that's what vandals do. They make things ugly. They destroy. That's the point. The guy who was the naked guy painted blue in the middle of the platter, he's some French actor. He said, of what he did the other day, he said, if there was no polemic, it would not be fun. A polemic is an aggressive attack on the opinions or beliefs of another. That's the point. The point of this was to cause controversy, because that's all these freak shows know what to do. I got 3 points I want to make. Actually, one person called in on the radio show this morning and said, hey, don't let NBC off the hook about all this too. Right? Don't just blame the queer director. NBC they knew this was coming. They had to get the lighting right and the camera's angle right and all that stuff. So they knew, they were in on it as well. So don't let them off the hook. All right, 3 things. First, the devil quoted scripture. The devil quoted scripture. These people who hate Christians, I hate to say this, many of them know more about Christianity than Christians. The devil quoted scripture. This queer director, I keep using the word queer because that's what he calls himself, right? This queer director knows scripture. He knows the Bible. He knows the Last Supper. He knew what he was mocking. And I'd argue one of the reasons he's able to get away with it is because he knows more about it than most Christians even know about it. And that's on us. The second point I want to make, these are humiliation rituals. These queers, they already, and again, I mean that generally and like specifically, they already control everything. They own every aspect of entertainment. They own every aspect of the media. They knew the people at the Olympic Committee or whoever was tasked with putting together $1 billion opening ceremony, right? I mean, like, they didn't call Jesse. The Olympic Committee was like, hey, we're putting on a show, even though Jesse's an expert on French architecture, as we all know. They didn't call Jesse and say, hey, Jesse, you put on the show, right? They called this queer, right? They called this guy. They called a vandal because they're in control. But here's the thing about these guys. They don't destroy. They use first, whatever institution they take over, they use that institution that we've built to humiliate the people who they've conquered. This is very important to understand. They know what they're doing, but they don't come in and just burn it to the ground right away. Right? Think about that. They didn't come to this queer director guy and say, hey, do you want to run the opening ceremonies? And he said, yeah, that'd be great. Let's just cancel it. He didn't do that. He said, yes, that'd be great. I'd love it. And he used it as a way to humiliate you and humiliate Christians to your face. You're sitting on your couch, you're watching with your kids, and then this stuff comes on the TV. And they do that because they can. And the point of it is to humiliate you and to have people say, well, they win. Like there's nothing these people can't do to us now. They're supposed to sit here and take this, and I guess I will. Masks also were a humiliation ritual. by the way, but that's for another day. It's supposed to demoralize you. But here's the key. You are only humiliated if you accept it. If you find it acceptable, or if you just let it go, then, and only then, are you humiliated. This is why these same people, when you say, hey, this is unnecessary, whack, blasphemous, whatever word you want to say, this is why they'll come back and be like, oh, you conservatives, ooh, you overreact about everything, oh, we hurt your feelings, because they want to shame you into silence. They want to shut you up by trying, oh, look at you overreact. I read some MSNBC article was like, opening ceremonies, Olympics, rankles conservatives. Rankles conservatives. Right, but that's the point. The point is to keep you quiet. Then you will be humiliated. Third point, Brett Weinstein. He said the Olympic ceremony is very much like President Biden's debate performance. It's only shocking if you've been in denial. It wasn't shocking to you. Like you watched it, or maybe you didn't watch it, but you saw it, and you're like, yeah, that's about right. That makes sense. I'm surprised it wasn't way worse, actually, than that. Surprised they didn't just have gay sex right there on the screen, right? So, but it's like, we're not in denial. We know this stuff. You watch Jesse Kelly. You know what we're up against fully. So you see this, you're like, oh, okay. But if you were shocked, it's because you're not paying attention. So get everyone else to wake up to what we're up against. You and I know it. Jesse knows it, of course. We need other people to be aware too. And don't sit back and don't just take it. There's a difference between not being shocked and taking it, right? You can not be shocked and still stand up against it. Jesse wrote this the other day. I don't think it was even in relation to this. Maybe it was. But he said, you don't shift culture back your direction by doing and saying things that are considered acceptable by the culture you're in. The culture hates you. So like, if you say something that's acceptable to the culture you're in, then you're just going with the culture. He said that won't move anything. You can't shift culture if you're not willing to offend people and break norms. Communists know this. The right does not. See, that's what these communists, these blasphemers in France did. They humiliated you. Like they broke traditional norms of what is acceptable in an Olympic opening ceremony and what is acceptable to Christian people. And they did it, and they don't care. They love it. But we're over here like, oh, I don't want to offend anyone. Right? So even to the point where if you speak out against this, you're like, hey, I don't like that. Like, even forget about the blasphemy part. It's just like an ugly aesthetic. Like, it doesn't even look good. Like, you just did a bad job with that. I'm offended at just how ugly it is. Even if you do that, oh, you're so mean. You're so offensive. But look what they did to you on international TV, right in front of your face, right in front of your kids. And look at what these people are willing to do to you. They get their jollies off humiliating you. And most people go along with it. Jesse doesn't. And he doesn't care who he offends by speaking against it, because that's necessarily going to happen. Offense isn't the point, but it's a necessary result of telling the truth. And we can't be afraid of offending people when you tell the truth.